Ed Friedman. And the interviewees are Ed and Charlotte, and the interviewers are Max and Zachary Friedman. Okay, guys, begin the interview.
Okay. Well, these are questions about your childhood, and we'll switch off. Were you good at sports?
Early on, no. But as I got older, I did improve. So you got to stay with it.
What sports did you play? Baseball or?
Baseball, we played football.
Weren't you good at golf?
Basketball. What else?
Aren't you good at, no.
Yeah, you can ask her.
Are you good at golf?
Yeah, well, that came later. Yeah, I was pretty good at golf when I was younger.
Yeah.
But that
As I
wasn't
got
in his
older,
childhood,
that's...
Okay. Did you both grow up in Chelsea?
No,
Oh.
no, I grew up in Connecticut, Bristol, Connecticut.
Oh, Bristol.
I was born in New Haven, Connecticut, and grew up in Bristol, Connecticut.
Okay. Well, Zachary, how about you ask number 8?
What was your neighborhood like?
Where we grew up?
Yeah.
Well, you.
No, it was a very nice neighborhood. My father had a house built on top of a hill, and we could see the Boston big buildings from our front deck. I had there was a house right behind us. One of my friends, early friends, was one named, what was his name?
I don't remember his name.
He was a black boy that was about a year older than me. Joshua, that was his name. Until they moved away a few years later, but at that time he was my best friend.
Did you go to school near your house? Did you walk to school?
I walked to school, sure. There were no buses. Chelsea never had any buses. You walked to school and it was a mile away. You walked to school and it was 1.25 miles away. And the first 6 grades were probably 1/4 mile away.
Even when it snowed?
There was no other way to go. My father never believed in taking me to school or picking me up from school. So I walked any of them in the weather, and good weather and bad weather. That's why I'm so tough.
What was your favorite book?
My favorite book when I read a lot of books. I read every book I could get my hands on. Children's books, adult books, it doesn't matter. So I can't even tell you my favorite book.
Because you like so
Because I
many
have
of them.
so many books and I'm still doing the same thing. I'm not happy unless I have a book in my hand.
What about your neighborhood? You didn't really.
My neighborhood?
Going to
Well, I
school, what was
lived
your
in
neighborhood
Bristol.
like?
We always lived in a nice neighborhood. And I always walked to school, but my mother was, in those days, they didn't own their houses, they rented a house. And my mother always saw to it that the house we were renting was not too far from the school. So it could have been a block or 2 or 3, that's all. But later on, when I went to high school, we were in our own house that my father had built, and it was a very long walk to school, so when I could, I got a ride, not with my father, but with my friend's father. But it was far.
What's your favorite book?
Oh, I'd have to say when I was small, very small, I used to like the Bobbsey twins.
What are the Bobbsey twins?
Oh, it's
It's
a
a-
series of books about, were they like at high school age? I don't know how
I
old they
think it
were,
was
but they were
younger.
twins and a boy and a girl. Yeah, I read all those books too. And Nancy Drew, there were mystery stories.
Oh,
I
I
grew
know
up-
Nancy Drew. I mean, I don't read them, but I've heard of it.
Oh, well, it's a detective story, sort of, a young girl who's a detective.
Okay. When you were a kid, the answer will probably will be no, but did you ever ride in a plane?
Oh, yes, you did.
Well, yeah, there are a couple, two things. We talk about kid. It was a long time before I started to, but I was about 16 years old, and a cousin was a pilot. And on Sundays, when I had to do work for my father, I would find a way to get to the airport, which was in Revere, just the next town over.
I know what Revere is.
Yeah, okay. And he would take me up for a ride in his Piper plane. And I enjoyed that. He would let me take the stick a little bit, and
Wow.
really thrilling.
That's like a two-seater plane? How big a plane was it?
Two-seater.
Oh. What kind of work did you do? You said you worked on for your
Collection.
dad.
Collection. I had to go out Sunday mornings to collect money for coal that was delivered. Now, at that time, the coal was only $12 a ton. Today, I have no idea. It's probably
Probably.
$50 or $60 a
Well,
ton.
these guys don't really know about coal and what coal is even used for.
Well, coal used to be a lot more valuable back then.
Yeah, well, maybe why did people buy coal?
Because of trains, it powered
Well, this is
trains.
just
Oh,
for
this
houses.
is
No,
to-
you use
to-
coal in your house to
to
heat
heat
your
the
house,
house.
in your furnace.
We don't have a fireplace.
We had a
No,
fireplace.
we
Yeah,
didn't
furnace.
have a
always had
fireplace.
How did you get the coal into the house?
Well, the trucks used to bring it.
There's
And
a
they
chute
have
in the back of the house.
They have dumps that would raise up, and then the chute would go in through a cellar window into a place inside the house in the cellar.
Then how did the whole coal get from the bin into the furnace?
You had to have buckets, and you fill it up with coal with buckets, and you bring it upstairs. If you were on the first floor, you only had one floor to bring it up. If you were on the second floor, then you had 2 floors. And if you were unfortunate enough to have 3 floors, then you carried them all the way up to 3.
Oh, was that a chore the kids did?
Yeah, yeah.
So is it like cleaning your room?
Yeah.
Okay, I have another question. What subject were you best at school?
That's a good question. I forgot. It's been so long ago. No, but I used to like history
Yeah,
very
you
much.
still like
And
history.
I still like it. And I like history books.
Grandma, what about you?
Grandma, what about you? What were your favorite subjects?
Oh, I loved school. It didn't matter to me. I liked math. I liked, of course, reading. I already told you that.
Oh, I like math.
But I liked projects in school where you make scrapbooks of things. I liked school. I liked everything about it.
Grandma, you had a job too, didn't you? Job after school?
Well, my father had a store.
What kind of
and
store?
Had a women's clothing store. And as soon as I was big enough, which was when I was maybe 12, I could go into the store and help with selling stockings or gloves or things like that and help in the store.
Was it a good business?
Yeah, it was a good business. It was a not
Did a lot of
good
people
business.
come to
What?
them? Did a lot of people come to them?
Yeah, people came to the store to buy things. Yes, it was a good business. We sold dresses and lady suits and coats and accessories like stockings and gloves. And early on, we sold hats and pocketbooks and everything. It was a good business.
Did you go to any theme parks when you were like?
When I was young, there were no theme parks. There's no such thing as a theme park.
Oh, I thought
That
that's
came
when like
later.
roller coasters were just invented in the 20s and
Well, we had lake compounds in Bristol, so we had, wasn't a theme
It
park,
wasn't
it
a
was
theme
an
park,
amusement park.
Amusement park.
You
Yeah.
had amusement parks
yeah, that's what I meant, like an
with
amusement
roller
park.
coasters and,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
had,
At the beaches, they
Yeah.
were usually
yeah, we had that.
amusement parks. And Nantasket and Revere.
Oh.
And there were different contexts.
We
Yeah,
just went
what do
to
they have
one.
there? What kind of rides
Oh,
did
yeah,
they have?
like wooden roller coasters.
Roller coasters, and there was
Merry-go-round.
there was another type of ride that you got that wasn't quite as thrilling. as
Tilt-a-whirl or
Tilt-a-whirl.
something like that.
Tilt-a-whirl, it was down on the main floor, but this was up higher, and it was kind of round, and it would circle and go back and forth, and it would come down the hill and stop.
I've never heard of those rides.
Well,
Oh, and the newer ones are very sophisticated now.
Yeah, like there's
This was
this.
a long time ago.
There's this real pretty scary ride called the Tower of Terror.
That's at Disney World.
Yeah.
It's well, I
It
think
goes
this type
like
of
you're in
ride-
this elevator and you go really fast up and really fast down.
Well, it's like a newer type of ride where you sit in something and you go up and you're sitting down and then you drop down and then you go
I
up.
don't think I would like that.
yeah, it is.
No,
It's
these
really
were-
scary.
We used to have bumper cars.
Oh, I like
We
bumper
could have bumper cars. We had bumper cars. We had one ride that you get into like an airplane, and then they turn the thing on, and the airplanes will go around. You go around in a circle like
I
in
know
an
those
airplane.
rides.
But we had that, and they had little trains to go around the lake. The lake, we had lake compounds, it was called.
I
And
think
it had
I've heard of-
all these amusements, had a
You
big
probably
roller
did
coaster.
hear about.
Huh?
Yeah, lake compounds, they're still around. When I was driving to Rhode Island, I saw a billboard for like, check out the new roller coaster ride at Lake Compounds.
Could be, it
Yes,
could
yeah,
be, it could
because-
be. That was very well known. That was near Bristol where I lived, in Connecticut.
Ask another question.
Okay.
We used to go swimming there at the lake.
Oh, when you were a kid, did you have like a hero or an idol? Like someone who you looked up to, like the President of the United States as an example? Or
I
a
can't think-
sports player?
I think when I was growing up, it was movie stars.
Yeah, yeah.
They were movie stars, like Clark Gable. And who else were the other movie stars? I don't remember, but that was the big thing. When we were kids, we used to play games and pretend we were movie stars. The movies that was a big entertainment for us to go to the movies.
And
Do you have to dress up fancy to go to the movies?
Did we have to dress? No,
Yeah.
no.
That was a
You
long-
could go in your school clothes and.
Well, like a long, long time ago, people like sometimes dressed up sort of.
Well, people would, yes, not so long ago, would dress up to go to the theater. You go to the live theater where you see actors
Yeah.
on the stage.
that's where you have
People
to
used
dress up.
to get dressed up, but today people don't get that dressed up for that anymore either.
Well,
You're right. We used to get dressed up to go to the theater, but not to the movies.
I mean, for like more important, kind of fancier plays, like my mom took me to see West Side Story,
Yeah,
and everyone there was in like nice outfits.
yeah.
She
Well,
made
we
That's called the theater.
the
Yeah.
theater, yeah. Well,
Where there's
I said you
live
got
plays.
dressed for that, but
And-
today people don't get that dressed up to go.
Well, I mean, for plays that like are not as well known, they would. I mean, I've been to like a play, like a children's theater, where like the star actor is like only 13, and I was just in like t-shirt and shorts when I saw it.
We just saw the play Billy Elliot.
Yeah.
It's about a boy, a young boy who wants to be a dancer. It was very good. We just saw that play on his birthday. We went there.
Wait, what day was your real birthday again? March? Like,
March 6th,
March 6th,
What year?
1923.
19.
23.
So you're 90.
90, right.
What's next on the questions?
Okay, any other questions?
I think that's it.
You think that's
All
it?
right.
Yeah, I'll tell you a little bit more about our life in Bristol, if you'd like to hear that.
Okay. Oh yeah. I only wrote questions about childhood, so.
Okay. Well, after I got home from the service,
No,
You were
I
in the
was-
war. I never knew that.
yeah, maybe we'll tell a little about that too.
Like World
Okay,
War
tell 'em
One,
about
World
that.
War
That's
Two.
that was a major war, World War II. And I was in the Air Force. And when I came home from that, I had to go back to college because I only had a year and a half of college before I went into the Army, into the Air Force.
What was the Army like?
Oh, the Army is like very interesting. That if you did what you were supposed to do and you behaved, there was no problems. If you tried to be a wise guy and did other things, there could be problems. There could be penalties for it.
And you were very lucky. You didn't get sent overseas to actual
No, I
fighting.
never had any actual
No.
fighting, but it was almost 3 years from the time I started till I got out of the Air Force. And come down sometime, I'll show you my discharge papers, what it looked like in those days. Today they're very, very different.
I just remembered about my friend Dominic.
Yeah.
He told me that well, his dad's side, he came into America legally, but on his mom's side, there was something exciting that happened.
Hmm.
He was like fighting in a war between Ireland and England because they don't always get along so well, and he
Right.
was trapped in an English prison. He did the craziest thing. He lit it on fire. Then he used like gunpowder to blow up the jail.
Wow.
And he escaped on a raft. And when he was getting into New York Harbor, he jumped off and swam into Ellis Island.
Wow.
And then he swore himself in as an American.
Wow.
That sounds
That's
like
quite a
a
story.
pretty fancy story.
My life there was not that exciting.
Let's hear more about that though.
That's where we're here about Bristol.
Yeah, Bristol.
Yeah, Bristol. I graduated from Boston University in
Yeah.
1947. And at that time, a very unfortunate thing happened. Grandma's father got sick and passed away. And there was no one to run the business, the store. Her grandma didn't really
My
want it.
mother, not me. My mother,
Yeah,
he said grandma.
yeah. Your
My
gra-
mother, yeah.
Your mother, okay. And I graduated from BU in 1947 in August. And I went from there to work in the store. And I stayed there, we stayed there in Bristol for how many years?
I don't know,
47 to 85.
47 to 87, almost 40 years.
Yeah, it was for almost 40 years.
And then you guys moved down to the fountain.
Right. But it was a very interesting thing, and a lot of it interesting things happened to it. Bristol was a nice town, nice people, and I was very fortunate to participate in a lot of things.
Didn't you have a radio show?
Wait,
Yeah.
I have a
Tell them about the
question
radio.
about Bubbie. When you grew up in Bristol, did you
No,
ever?
I grew up in Bristol.
I know. When you grew up in Bristol, did you ever meet like Bubbie Shaw or Zayde Norman? Because they also grew up.
No.
in
Bubbie Leakey.
Bubbie Leakey.
Blakey.
Bubbie Lake, no, I didn't
Zayde.
meet them. I didn't meet them until your
Grandfather introduced us to them.
Your grandfather and your
now I'm
grandmother.
mixed up. But the interesting thing was, there was a connection even then, because there was a girl in Bristol who was a friend of mine, who was a first cousin to your Grandma Lakey. So I knew about her because she used to look up to Lakey, because Lakey was older, and she looked up to her and she used to talk about her cousin Lakey. And so there was a connection even then that we didn't know anything about.
Well, the George Miller connection too.
Well, George Miller
Miller.
was married to Lakey's aunt.
There's somebody else who had a store in Bristol.
Yeah,
Sort of
right.
like,
So there was another
Yeah.
connection, but
Was
we
that-
didn't meet that way.
Yeah.
We had, our meeting had nothing to do with that. But it's funny, I
Funny.
didn't even stop to think about the connection early on with them.
ask about that radio show, I think.
Oh, what about your radio show?
Well, it was mainly for purpose of advertising the store. It was a 5-minute review of fashions and things going on in Bristol, and I did it at first with someone from the radio station. The two of us did it, and then Grandma said she wanted to do it, and she did from the rest of the
From
time.
then
they were
on,
doing
A
we
it.
did
long
it
time, they
together.
did a long time.
Huh?
You did that a long
Yeah, we
time?
did it for a long
It was-
time, yeah.
It was, I think, just twice a week, but for 5 minutes.
I don't know. We got to be pretty famous in Bristol, Connecticut because of the radio show.
You're the Bristol.
Oh, I
Connecticut
heard you on the
movie
radio.
stars.
I'd have people stop me on the street.
What are your brothers and sisters like?
Well, they were much older than I was. I had an older brother, a sister, brother, and a sister from 9, 11, 13, and 15 years older than me. So that makes quite a difference. And I was very lucky because I was the favorite in the family. And they all liked me and took me places and did things with me. It made it very interesting. Although there were different things. My brother Bob, who would take me fishing. He taught me how to hold a golf club for the first time. He also took me to the golf course, not to play, but to caddy for him. You know what that is?
Yeah,
That's
they
like
would
when you
carry
hold
their
them.
golf clubs.
Right. I had to carry the golf clubs for him. And then he would pay me, I don't know, 50 cents? Caddies get much more today. My older brother, Dave, he used to drive a truck for the Bellingham Hardware Company. And when he would come home, we lived on a hill. And whenever he would come home, I would try to get down the hill a little bit, meet him partway up the hill. And he would let me get into the truck and sit on his lap and then drive from there to our driveway up there. Mary married Herman. She had 3 boys, including one who said when we first met him, "Is he going to marry her?" And I did. She when they were married and had children, they used to go away in the summertime, and they always took me with them, so that I became a babysitter for her children, and we would swim and have a lot of fun together. And Ines, when I was maybe 7 or 8, she was still in high school, junior or senior year, and I used to make breakfast for the two of us on occasion. That was it. I had a very good life with my brothers and sisters.
But somebody must have teased him or something. We were in having dinner, and we were quite a long while, I guess, this time. Came out, I found